So when you guys moved from Michigan
Yeah.
and you said, hey, we're going to go to the DR, we're going to change our whole life, we're going to uproot our whole family, we're going to go live this amazing life. What conversations did you have with your kids on that journey? What amount of input did you give them in the decision?
I don't think we gave them a ton of input, to be honest with you. I think we brought them with us to visit. We were there for a month. So they got a sense of what it was and got a feel for it and everything like that. But when we moved them, there wasn't a lot of discussion around. It was more, they were excited, right? It was like, it was just post-pandemic. It was supposed to be a 1-year adventure. I remember
what we
told them.
Yeah, I remember.
So we told them it's a 1-year adventure, and I think they pictured like resort life, right?
Yeah.
So it wasn't a hard sell. But after the first year, when we decided to stay, my oldest, who I guess was 7 at that point, 7 or going on 8, whatever. 7 years old, somewhere in that range. He was really resistant to that. Like, it was 1 year. In fact, he resisted learning Spanish that year because it's only 1 year.
Yeah.
So at the point at which we were like, buddy, we're going to stay, like, I was just like, we're staying. It is what it is. But he was so resistant. I remember I took them to this local restaurant, La Cava, that we go to. And I sat the two of them down. The younger one, he's like, whatever. He's bouncing off of a wall.
Care.
But the older one, I was like, all right, buddy, tell me what the perfect, like, I don't remember the word I used, but like conditions for you to stay here. What are the perfect conditions for you to stay? He's like, I don't want to go back to that school. We had him in a Montessori school. And I showed him another school. I said, well, what about this one? Really cool. It's called Ikigai, which is like kind of Japanese word for purpose. Yeah. And the whole concept of the school is very much hands-on, no homework, no test. It's more hands-on, practical learning. And it's a cool campus, beautiful campus. So I'm like, all right, buddy, what about this school? And he's like, okay, yeah, I'm in. I'm like, all right, what else? His other condition was I want to go to one of the resorts locally every month. Like, all right, we'll work on that one. Maybe we'll do like a day
every quarter.
Pass. Yeah, we'll do a day pass every once a month on Saturday or whatever. But I said, all right, if I work on that and we send you to this school, are you good? He's like, yeah, I'm good. And it was like, he was cool. Now that we've decided to stay full time, like all right, I'm in. I'm good. I'm ready to go. And even when we switched schools this year to the new school, the one that they'll do Bible study in, there was a lot, like, bring them along, let them tour it, see what questions they have, show them the things that we think that they would really enjoy, like futsal courts and soccer fields and all the things that they're building there. So, again, they were like, yeah, we're excited to go. So they were part of that. But that initial move, they weren't. But as we've gone along, we've evolved.
Do you regret it at all?
No.
They're too young.
Well, I don't believe in regret. I don't believe that's a thing. I think that's a silly thing. I think there's lessons, but it's like, man, if I knew what I knew then, I would do something different. Like, no, you wouldn't.
So you have no regrets?
No.
None.
No. I mean, there's things that with the benefit of hindsight, now that I know I'll do it differently going forward. Mm-hmm. But this kills me. Like, one of the worst podcasting questions I've ever gotten, maybe you'll ask it, is
implying I'm a terrible podcast.
No.
Well, it's good, man. I appreciate that. Yeah.
You assign that meaning. Is, hey, Jamie, you're 46. What would you tell your 22-year-old self?
Yeah, I love that one.
And I'm like, nothing. Because 2 reasons. I can't. That's physically impossible. Yeah. And 2, even if me showed up to meet me at 22, me at 22 knows everything.
Yeah.
He's not listening to me. You know what I mean? Like, he's not listening to anybody.
Exactly.
He's going to go his route.
Yeah.
So regret is silly. I think seeking wisdom from your future self makes sense.
Yeah.
But regret is silly. Like, wherever you were at the point at which you made a decision, whatever version of you that you were made the best decision for that version of you. And that might be if you were an addict. You made the best decision in that moment while you were an addict that you could for yourself. And for most of us, we are where we are right now because of the potentially bad decisions in hindsight that we made back then. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I don't believe in regret. Even when it comes to death, somebody dying prematurely, overdose or suicide or whatever, it's like, that was their path, like that was their,
so let me ask you this
journey.
question. No, thank God you're clear. You just had the heart scan, but let me just be super blunt. You're 55 years old in a couple of years, whatever, 10 years, 9 years. Okay. So you're 9 years, you're 55. You choose not to get the clear cardio instead. In 9 years, you have heart disease. Yeah. And it's seriously terrible. Would you have regret not gone to clear cardio when you had the opportunity?
No, I don't. Again, it was like that version of me wasn't ready to do it.
That's beautiful.
Again, would I give advice to somebody? Hey, here's something, like we're about that distance apart.
Yeah.
You'd be about 46 when I'm 55. What I say to you, like, dude, just go do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
you wouldn't regret it.
No, I mean, look, man, I spent 21 years in a corporate career that wasn't aligned with who I am at all. And I literally found a way to climb that ladder to a fairly significant role within a company. I don't regret one bit of that. I had a boss at the end that I wouldn't have mind seeing her pushed off a cliff at one point.
Yeah.
Right. I don't regret the fact that I took the job to move to Michigan to work for her, which ended up being why I left. Right.
Yeah.
I don't regret any of that. Like,
No.
you know, the best job I had when I worked for them was probably 7 years prior to the move to Michigan. So like if I were to regret, I'm like, man, I should have just stayed in that job. I was so happy. It was awesome. That was my happiest moment. That's like the high school quarterback.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah, but then you never get to the Dominican. Like, so, you know, some people would say, I regret the time I spent in that job. But like what you've done is you've removed all of the judgment that most people live with. Like you don't live with judgment. I believe regret is a form of judgment.
It is 100%.
You know, and so you've basically said, I'm going to just look at it for what it is. I'm going to say what's great about this, and then I'm going to choose going forward. And that's a lesson I learned from Ricky Williams, the Heisman Trophy winning running back.
Yeah.
We were playing ping pong at one of the first ever GoBundance events. And I'm like, okay, so like, what's the meaning to life right here? I'm like 23 years old and I'm playing ping pong against a NFL running back. Like, who am I to be in this room, right? So like, let me ask him something stupid and like off the cusp. And he's like, the only meaning to life is just choice and awareness.
Yes.
I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, every choice you become aware and then you choose again.
That's beautiful.
It like blew my mind.
That's beautiful.
It like blew my mind.
Yeah.
And then I had to wrestle with that for literally 2 years.
Yeah.
And finally I became aware of like, that is literally all of life. It is just choice and awareness.
See what weed does, man?
And then you get, no kidding, right? A lot of it. I mean, it's just very
deep.
He went very deep. But what he also said to me was, you're thinking you have a hardware problem.
Yeah.
You have a software problem.
Yes.
And what he was saying is essentially like the stories that I was giving meanings to, the things that I was listening to, the people I was listening to was my software. That was what was creating my software. You've done a really good job of reprogramming your software. Most people, when you guys were moving to the Dominican, said like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Most people, when you were leaving your W-2, I'm assuming, I wasn't there, said,
you're nuts.
Terrible idea.
Yeah.
You're nuts.
Yeah.
Now here you are living what I perceive to be, just through the conversations we're fortunate to have, like your life, like the life you've always dreamed of having. You're sharing your message, you're influencing people, you're inspiring people. What role did GoBundance play for you on that journey?
I mean, it was everything. It was the catalyst, the foundation, the support, the normalization that you could do things differently. I mean, look, I always say this when people are thinking about GoBundance, right? It's like, okay, look, you have a pod, this group of guys you meet with every week, you know, multimillionaire, successful dudes that are just driven, amazing guys to be around. The year I joined GoBundance was the first year ever that I spent 52 times a year getting my goals in front of multimillionaires that held me accountable. I'd never done that before, right? So from that point forward, the last 6 years, I've spent 52 times a year getting feedback from multimillionaires about my goals. Everything changes. How can it not? Think about that. Just think about that concept, right? Yeah. If I said to you right now, Matt, hey, there's 5 of these guys, super successful. They want to meet with you every week, but you got to bring your goals. You got to share what you want to do. And then they're going to kind of hold your feet to the fire on the stuff that you say you want to do. You got to go to lunch with them once a week for an hour. Would you go? Of course you would.
Yeah.
Everybody would. You paid for lunch.
Yeah.
That's GoBundance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You pay for that lunch every week. It would add up to whatever the tuition is. And you meet with guys once a week. There's a whole bunch of other things to GoBundance, but that's GoBundance. So for me, to get in a room, I believe, so identity is, I think, what is at the crux of this. I think so many people get identity wrong. Identity is, I think, associated with when I have it, then I will be. I think identity is a shift you make now and then the result lags. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Pregnancy is a great example of this. Yeah. The moment your wife was pregnant with your first, how many do you have now? 7? How many kids do you have?
13.
13.
No, 3.
I know you have 3. The moment your wife became pregnant, my wife became pregnant, I was doing parent shit.
Yeah.
Because my identity instantly became parent.
Yeah.
I read that book.
Yeah.
Born Protestant, born again Catholic, or whatever the hell it is. I read that book when my wife was pregnant with our first kid. That's almost 10 years ago now. Holy fuck, time flies. But I read that book because it was like, wait a minute, I have a person that's going to be coming. So I had the identity of being a parent. But if you look at the definition of a parent, the kid wasn't born.
Yeah.
So I wasn't a parent yet.
Right.
But 9 months later, the result lags. You shift your identity, the result lags. You step into a room and you just sort of start going down that way when you're in that room of the identity. And I also, you get in a God universe, believe that God and the universe will sabotage everything that's not your identity in your life, which is painful. when you stake claim to a new identity. So when I said I'm going to be an entrepreneur, or I am an entrepreneur, or I am a real estate investor, or I'm a guy, my big vision was to travel 3+ months with my family anywhere in the world. When I claimed that identity, it was thanks to GoBundance. Because GoBundance doesn't look at, guys in GoBundance don't care about my past. They don't care about where I've been. They care about holding me accountable to where I'm going.
Yeah.
So when I stake my claim to that identity, and then I've got these guys around me that only know me for the identity I've claimed, not for the actuality of where I am right now, W-2 guy, executive with a company, yada, yada, yada. Like that was everything. Now, all of what I did all of the actions I took were being pushed, supported by whatever, these guys. And the best example of this, I think, is, this is the thing on accountability. I think when somebody comes into GoBundance or just is talking about getting accountability, I think the belief is, and I believe this, when it's like every week is going to be a bitch slapping, and I need it. Bitch slap me. I need to be like pushed forward. Yeah. Every week's going to be epic. But the reality is, you jump into this group of guys. Every week's a little different. Sometimes it's like, it's really deep and you get this massive push. Other times, maybe you're focused on somebody else for the entirety of the hour and a half you're on a call. But the value that I've gotten is, okay, here are my goals. Let me start taking action toward it. Every week we're talking about it. It's always front of mind. I'm always doing things. And those little things that I'm doing week after week, month after month, even year after year, lead to an inflection point. That is where GoBundance has made the difference for me. January 2021, February 2021, I quit my job. When I quit my job, I had to give back almost $1 million in equity because I had some restricted stock units. When I went to my pod with this idea that I was going to quit my job, it was, guys, I know I should. I got to give $1 million. That's just not the right decision for me. I got to find something better, right? I was ready to retract back to old me.
Yeah.
One of the guys, at least, maybe two of them, said, $1 million, dude, you'll make that in a year. What do you mean? Like, have you seen what you're doing? You'll make that back you'll make that equity back in a year. It's not real anyway. It's not in your pocket. Yeah. It won't be till you're 60.
And it's not really yours. They control it. Yeah.
Correct. Until it's yours. Right. Correct. Yeah. So you'll make that back in a year, maybe 2. So now what are you going to do? I was like, oh, fuck. I guess I'm going to quit.